Clark, lad, are you here? Can you hear me, Clark? Do we sound okay, Clark? Hello? Mic check. I'm guessing you can't hear me, which is not good. All right. Thanks for your help, dickhead. Forgive me. I don't know if you guys can hear me or not. You can hear me, Coach? I sound good. Okay. So here's the next question. If anybody wants to try and do me a favor real quick. If I'm not mistaken, we should be live on Kick. We should be live on Kick, and we should also be live on YouTube. Why what? I To be honest with you, Benny, I have no idea. It wouldn't let me change the title, so I guess that is what it is. This sounds nice. Good. I guess it is what it is in terms of where else would you suggest that I would stream? Since I'm on Restream and I get 3. Right, but if I can get monetized on on Kick for a failsafe, why not? Or if I mean, I don't know. Where else would I stream? Twitter? I don't have to stream to 3 places, but I can stream because of Restream. So, I mean, I don't know. You think Twitter or wait, Instagram? You can live stream to Instagram? I didn't know that was a thing. All right, we have another new apron, by the way. I have 100 fucking aprons now from Butterfly. I'm surprised the sun's still up. I feel like recently it's been dark when the sun was up, but we have another new apron. Nice. For whatever reason, I've lost my preview window and I don't like it. There it is. It's back. Okay. So when I first went live up there, it was weird because it was only telling me I was like 5 kbps. I think this apron might be too small though. Monster has the same size hands as Venny. That's fucked. That's so fucked. Also, damn, you've been violated, Clark. But in all fairness, you fucking asked for it. Poking a fucking bear. I should pin the mic to my hat. Why would I pin the mic to my hat? $320. What do you mean $320? Now it is under my apron. That's true. Maybe we could put it there. Okay, so I don't know if that's a restream thing. I don't know if that's a restream thing or if it's because I'm on mobile, but I didn't get the noti for that, unfortunately. Thank you very much for the 320, Benny. All right. Is the mic better now? You remember your first stream? I mean, realistically, I don't know if you've missed any streams, Clark, but you would be one that would have potential to have one of those monster fucking things. What's up, Molly? What am I knocking up? What the hell does that mean? I'm not knocking anything up. What are we talking about, Molly? Less yapping, more cooking. Got it.
Let's fucking go.
All right. Chaos just subbed. Thank you very much for the sub, Chaos. I appreciate it. Was that a gifted sub? I don't even know how to tell. I don't have any noties on this right now, by the way. Molly, thank you for the gifted sub. There's no normal notifications. All the chat is filtered into one chat, apparently. So if somebody typed in YouTube, can we test that? If somebody types in the YouTube chat, I should be able to see it right here. I hope. I know I can see it upstairs. Well, theoretically, I can see it upstairs. Never worked a single fucking day at Taco Bell, dickhead. All right, we're going to get everything out and we're going to start prepping. But one of the first things we're going to do is get some hot water here on these dried mushrooms. My daughter did manage to find me some... My daughter did manage to find me some shiitakes and some oyster mushrooms. I'll shut the fridge when I'm good. Thank you, Venny. I did see it here. Honestly, I don't think this one's going to be. I've got my chicken stock already thawed, or it was frozen. So I've got the chicken stock already simmering on the stove. Got some shrimp. Got a lot of things to prep. All right. I think this is everything because we got mushrooms. We got some parsley. We got some scallions. We got the asparagus, shrimp, steak still in there. I'm going to put the shrimp back in for now. Herbs. Herbs. That's not how that works, Clark. The compressor might burn out. I'm going to get this water boiling real quick. I have some dried mushrooms. I don't need to yell. I have some dried mushrooms. Moisture in the air freezes. What does it freeze on inside the refrigerator that's set to 38 degrees, which is 6 degrees above the freezing point of water, Clark? What freezes at 38 degrees? Which water exactly, Clark? Where? I'm an idiot. My refrigerator that's set at 38 degrees is going to freeze. Interestingly enough, so we were having a... Yeah. Leave the door open and let's find out. I'm with that, Silver. I'm with that. Once this water gets up to a boil, I'm going to pour it into the dried mushrooms. Butterfly grabbed these dried mushrooms. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to find wild mushrooms, so Butterfly grabbed some dried wild mushrooms off of Amazon. I know it doesn't look like much, and it's probably not actually as much as I thought. When it rehydrates, it probably won't be as much as I thought it would be, but either way, we're going to get the water up to a simmer at least. We're not going to... Well, I am going to boil it, but I'm going to boil it because yesterday we were talking to Kali about how to calibrate a thermometer. So we're going to calibrate the thermometer and make sure the thermometer is working. We're going to go over that real quick. In the meantime, I'm going to start rinsing and preparing some stuff while we wait for the water to steep up. So first things first, I'm going to rinse all my veggies. I know why it works, Clark. And I know exactly what happens, Clark. Also, you know what I noticed today is that I don't know where the hell my fucking my vegetable peeler went. It doesn't seem to have made the trip. Molly, I'm going to advise against that. But, you know, to each their own, Molly. Mushrooms have a lot of fucking dirt on them. That dirt is probably combined with a lot of fucking feces. So you're going to want to make sure you rinse your mushrooms really, really well. I did eat plenty of dirt as a kid, I'm sure. Probably ate it by the spoonful, with an actual spoon, to be honest with you. I also drank water out of the hose. Silver, how you been? So, For those of you that don't know, these are oyster mushrooms. And these are shiitake mushrooms. These are actually pretty clean. I'm going to rinse them really vigorously anyways. These are baby portobello mushrooms. They won't be very clean. There will be a lot of dirt on them. But we're going to cut a fair bit of mushrooms for both because we want to put mushrooms in the risotto and I want to have sauteed mushrooms. Butterfly will as well. These are baby bellas, and you can see, well, maybe not. These are actually all looking pretty clean too. It doesn't matter. I'm rinsing the fuck out of them anyways. I'm probably going to use the bellas for the sauteed mushrooms, for the side of sauteed mushrooms. What's the matter with you, Molly? What are you growling about? Thank you very much for the gifted sub, Molly. So I know you guys can't see me. I don't really want to turn the camera around, but one of the things I did, I put the mushrooms in a bowl and I filled it up with water, and then I just agitated the shit out of the water. Some of you guys have been here before. Some of you guys know about it. But agitate the shit out of them, shake them up, drain the water, strain it, rinse it again, do the same thing, rinse and repeat. So, real quick, I don't know if you can see inside the dial of the thermometer here, but let's look. Yeah, you probably can't see it very well. We're still going to work on the lighting. Anyways, water boils at 212 degrees. If you put this thermometer in ice water, you could potentially touch the dimple. I might have gone over this, but we're going to clip it. I may have done this in like the first stream. There's a dimple here, and if the ice cube is touching that, then you might get a colder temperature, and so it's not the best way to calibrate. The best way to calibrate is with boiling water, because water only boils at 212 degrees. You want to make sure that you get that dimple there inside the water. The water that's at a nice hard rolling boil. And then put the thermometer in there. I won't be using the thermometer today. Even when I cook my steaks, I'll just be touching the steak to figure out whether it's done or not. I'm actually glad that I did this because it looks like I'm about 10 degrees short here. I'm not even using it, but still. All right, we're pretty good. I got it dialed into about 214. I don't know how long these are going to need to soak in this water. But you're supposed to just pour some hot water on top of the mushrooms. I'm going to say a little more than double the amount of water that's in there. I'm going to actually reuse this water. I'm actually going to reuse the water. Once the mushrooms are fully hydrated, I'm going to reserve the water and I'm going to use that to help make the risotto. I'm going to go rinse the rest of these veggies. We have some leaf parsley, some Italian leaf parsley, some scallions, the asparagus, a lemon, a lime, tomatoes, because of the amount of pepper that I'm going to be using, I don't want to use the pepper mill today. So I'm going to ground up some pepper because I'm going to put a fair bit of pepper on the steaks. I'm going to put a fair bit of pepper in the risotto, on the shrimp. So I don't want to just have to grind the pepper mill fucking 600 times to get the right amount of pepper. So I'm going to mill up some pepper. Mortar and pestle. Make sure I save you a plate. Yeah, we have fried egg sandwiches. I mean, I don't know how you guys do them, Molly, but egg and cheese on like an English muffin. Of course, I don't know what you guys qualify as an English muffin either, though. I know it's whatever we call an English muffin. I don't know what that is. I think we had this discussion a little while back. I got a new cast iron pan, which I seasoned up. Just before we started stream here. I'm not looking for like ground pepper here. I'm looking for cracked pepper. So I want mostly all of the corns to be cracked. Nothing crazy. Don't have to work too hard. That's what I'm looking for. How's the internet been recently? It's been better since we went to this is going to take some getting used to. I was about to raise my voice because I walked over there and my microphone's on my lapel now, so I don't have to scream. It's been better since we went to the 2 services. It sucks that we still have to have 2 services, but we're supposed to be getting we should be getting fiber within the next 6 weeks or so, I believe now is what it should be. I got some fresh organic thyme here. I wouldn't normally buy organic. Not that it's a bad thing, just more expensive and I don't really care a whole lot. With thyme, there's going to be, I don't know if you guys can see really well, but with thyme, there's a very woody end of the stem. And then there's the other end, which is very soft and delicate. You're basically just going to hold the woody side and pull away from it to get all the thyme leaves off. And you don't have to do anything with this. We don't have to chop this up. They're small enough. I personally just want to fold this in. I don't want to cook this because I don't want to I still need to stop shouting. I don't want to cook this because I don't want to I want the fresh aromatic flavors. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook up the risotto, and right at the last minute, when I pull it off the heat and it's ready to go onto the plate, I'm basically going to fold the thyme in. So it'll be warm and it'll help release some of those aromatics of it, but it's not going to cook it. The parsley that I'm going to use is really just for garnish. Parsley doesn't add a dramatic amount of flavor. You can chop this up if you get a lot of the stems in here. You don't have to. I know it's going to take some getting used to, though, Connor. I'm so used. Hello, Harley. How are you? And it's ironic because I'm mentally. I probably didn't even have to shout before, but now, yeah, I have to remember that the mic is right in my face. I could probably, and I didn't apply any filters to it, by the way. Hello, Connor. My day was great. I didn't apply any filters to it, Connor. I tested it with all the settings that it had, and I decided that this was the best sounding ones, and it didn't need any filters. But if I watch the VOD back and I think that I'm hitting too many highs, I'll probably put, I think it's called a compressor. I think it's the compressor. Basically just to knock down the highs so that it'll stop me from blowing anybody's ears out. Right, so the rosemary I literally bought just to put in with the steak. Once I get the steak seared up in the, I bought a new cast iron pan, by the way, and I seasoned it. So once I get the steak seared and I flip them, I'll drop a little pat of butter in there and a sprig of rosemary, and I'll kind of baste the, steak with a spoon just long enough to incorporate and infuse some of those flavors onto it. Nothing crazy. Just adds a little dynamic to the flavor profile. All right. I think I'm going to peel the shrimp first. One stream and I'll be good. Yeah. If I watch it back, Connor, if I watch it back and I'm not shouting or I'm not like really cracking out on the highs, then I probably won't bother. But all right. So we got some, I think they were 12 to 15. When it comes to seafood, shrimp, scallops, large bay scallops. I'm sorry, sea scallops, large sea scallops. I don't think it doesn't apply to much else that I can think of off the top of my head. But when it comes to your shrimp, you have a number next to the shrimp. So these were 12 or 13 through 15. It's pretty standard everywhere, at least in the States. I think anything below 12 would be U12, and then U8, and then U6. And what it means is that there's going to be under 6 per pound. So you'll have 6 pieces of scallops or 6 pieces of shrimp per pound. Or in the case of shrimp, the most common size of shrimp you're going to see is going to be 16-20, which means there's going to be 16 to 20 pieces of shrimp per pound. So when you're ordering shrimp or when you're buying shrimp, or if they have it on the menu or somewhere or something like that, and you see those numbers, that's what it means. So in this case, we've got some relatively large shrimp. They still have the shells on. They still have the legs on. I don't know if I'm going to be able to... I can pull this off. So they're already split down the back. The easiest way I find to peel a shrimp is to grab a hold of it and just pull all the skin right off. And I'll show you one more. But just grab a hold of the shrimp with your whole thumb and peel out and around, pinch the legs, and then back and around. And then at the end for the tail, we're going to saute these, and some people will leave them on for garnish, and you leave them on with shrimp cocktails and stuff, but it's really easy to get this part off too. You just pinch right here and pull. I'm in the kitchen shutting. That's actually good comms, by the way. Pity. It's actually really good comms. Going to grab a bowl just to put the shrimp in. Shrimp eyeballs are a delicacy? I don't know. I don't know about that. I've never eaten them. I have no desire to eat shrimp eyeballs. I'm not averse to trying things like that. But there needs to be a reason other than just sitting on Fear Factor and eating some fucking weird shit. Pinch and pull. You want to add me for some flavor profile? I don't know about that, Aaron, by the way. How we doing, Aaron? I just noticed Pity's watching me on YouTube. Thank you very much for that, Pity. And Dizzy. We're going to be restreaming. We're going to be simul-streaming to YouTube for the foreseeable future. All streams, by the way. Now that I've got Restream, there's no really reason not to. Hopefully we can get the watch hours up to get the monetization up, and I get posting consistent videos out there, and we can start generating some revenue off of that as well. How dare I reject you? I didn't say anything rejecting about that, Aaron. Not one word, Aaron. I would eat that. What is tequila suckers though? What is that? Is that like some single shot serving thing? I got a whiff of something. In case you're wondering why I just smelled my hand. I don't know what I'm smelling, but it's got me suspicious. So it could just be when you make a when you season the cast iron, the house smells fantastic. Let's say fantastic is a good way to say it. The house just smells fantastic. It smells like shit. I don't know why, but the smell of cooking hot metal, and I did it today, so I think it's just kind of lingering in the room. We are making, sorry, I didn't have time today because of setting up Restream and everything else that I did. We're doing a, thank you very much. That's weird how the emote comes through. It says face-red-heart-shape. We're making surf and turf, so we're gonna have some steaks. We're gonna have some steaks with some sauteed garlic shrimp, some wild mushroom risotto, and a side of sauteed asparagus. Here, I'll show you the steaks. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook the risotto about 80% of the way through. And then I'm going to cook the steaks. And while the steaks are resting and coming up to temperature, I'll finish the risotto so we can end up plating and cooking the steaks at the same time. Butterfly likes ribeyes. She likes them thin cut. It's her preference. Not for me to judge. But because they're thin cut, typically it's going to be more difficult to find bone in them. So here's the steaks. When it comes to picking a steak, you don't just want to pick based on how you think it looks. You want something that's got good, even marbling throughout, regardless of what the grade of the steak is. Obviously, you always get surprised by what the bottom side looks like, but nice, even marbling throughout. And I do tend to touch the steak to feel it, because you can feel if there's dense muscle fibers anywhere in the steak. You can feel that it's going to not cook evenly, or it's going to be tougher. So it's always a good idea. This is decent looking ribeye, good marbling, not too fat and gristly through. Oftentimes you can see a bad steak will have like some really nasty chunk of marble or chunk of fat here, and it's not going to cook down well. So avoid that if you can. Yeah, New York strip. What's up, Ballin? Does the fat on the edge always have to be present? I would never advise you to trim the fat off of your steak unless it's there's trimmable fat and then there's not trimmable fat. And that fat cap that's on the ribeye right there, that's going to render down. That's going to render down mostly. It's going to provide a lot of flavor in the pan. So I'm yelling again. Sorry. Practice makes perfect. We're learning. Oh, wait. Ballin just rated. Ballin, I'm sorry. This is the first time on Restream. And I'm not getting noties in the same way that I would in chat. I apologize. Thank you very much for the raid. Shout out Ballin indeed. We got some great sessions in last night. Ballin's a demon on not only COD, but apparently on Marvel Rivals too. I wouldn't know about Marvel Rivals a ton because I don't have a ton of interest. What's up, Nemesis? I don't know why, but the wet towel is not being cooperative right now. Of course, pity. So, I think all of this is probably edible, but we've never really, I was never taught how to use them. Oyster mushrooms isn't something that you see used a ton. So, I just cut the really hard knot. This is the most dense mushroom. It's probably still edible, but I just cut that out of the oyster mushrooms. And then it's nothing crazy. I'm just doing a little rough shop here. Nothing insane. The thing about a pork chop, and the thing about the fat cap on the end of something like that, oftentimes that you're going to want to be careful about, is that it will cause the pork chop to curl up, in particular on the inside of the pork chop. So you want to put a little slice in that muscle. You want to put a little slice in that fat in order to stop it from curling up in on itself. The reason curling up in on itself is a problem is because when it does that, you lose the ability to cook it evenly. Not one thing cooking, imagine. I see you, HC, by the way, and my whatchamacallit there. My stock is simmering. But yeah, you believe it or not, HC, things that don't come out of fast food restaurants require preparation. Even the things in your fast food restaurants require preparation. It just happens at a factory in the middle of fucking China, and then they ship it to you. What's up, you bot? These are the mushrooms, by the way. For the most part, I'm gonna use the I'm gonna be using the baby bellas. I'm going to be using the baby bellas for the sauteed mushrooms to put with the steak, sauteed mushrooms and onions. So I'm only quartering them. Prep should have been ready beforehand. I don't give a fuck what Gordon Ramsay would say, HC. And the prep would have been ready beforehand if I was cooking in a restaurant. But the whole idea of this is for me to engage with you guys and talk to you guys about what and how we're doing at HC. So we do it on camera, Dick. Also, hi HC, how you doing today? That's right. Sorry, no, I forgot. I knew that, and I thought about it when you said it, but I wasn't 100% sure. So, these are the baby bellas. These are going to be just for eating along with the mushrooms. They're all cut in halves or quarters, relatively the same size. You don't want one to cook more than the other. What's up, nerd? No, I did not, Aaron. I was getting ready to do this, by the way. Yeah. Wait. Which food are we calling something different aspect? The baby portobellos? The oyster mushrooms? The shiitakes? What are we on, brother? Oh, are you talking about meat? Bro, did you know that they call... Yeah, I literally just bite the cow's ass. Honestly. Oh, dear God. Oh, my God. All right, so, the shiitakes. To each their own. I'm not judging. Although, I'm going to be honest with you, Connor. If when we get together and I'm cooking dinner for you, I'm going to emphatically urge you to eat the steak at least medium, and that's the way I'll be cooking it. On some level, it would be. I mean, we're going live. We're going to be doing gaming after this. I only slept like 3.5 hours again, but maybe it was a little more than that. No, it was about 3.5 hours. It's not well done. It's not very fun. Yeah, we're not cooking any well done steaks here, no matter how much you guys want to see it. All right, so Stream Elements is responding. That's good. I can feel the mic wire falling down my shoulder, by the way, or falling down. That's the mic wire right there. That we're gonna have to figure out how to do. I'm just popping all the stems off of these, by the way. Medium rare, I don't care. Yeah, I'm not gonna eat it if it's more than medium rare. Medium's the highest I'll go for something like that. I have no idea how this has managed to happen like this. But it seems as though... I'm sorry for the noise, guys. I can mute that real quick. 1 second. Mic check. It should be muted. I should. And we're good now? I was trying to mute to save your guys' ears while I was fixing it. Okay. The only reason that those pans are on top of the fridge, HC, is for all the ball busting that you were doing about not being ready. I do actually have a tremendous amount of things prepared, like the bowls being down over the side here, like the garlic being down the side here, and those things that I have ready to go are in an effort to make life easier. One of the things is that you can't tell this, but one of the things is that the cabinet that holds the pots and pans is down there behind the camera stand, behind and underneath you guys. So if I was to try and grab the pans out of there during the stream, I would end up moving the camera all around and it would just be a pain in the ass. Okay, Forgive me, guys, because of the noties. I don't know if Techniques just subscribed on his own or if somebody gifted him a sub. Either way, thank you very much, Techniques, or whoever gifted the sub. I can't see it in chat, so I apologize. There's not 4 different types of medium. Busy. Nona, thank you for the gifted sub. Where are you going on holiday, Benny? Thank you very much, Nona. Nona, I'm sorry, Uabot is Nona, by the way. And I call him Nona because his name is Noah and it's my nephew. I don't even know where that is, Benny. Kitty, I don't know if you saw this before or not. I'll explain it for those who haven't seen it, but
hot damn, hot diggity, hot fucking dog.
The easiest way to peel garlic is to not peel it. I got sidetracked because of my microphone. We're going to cut these shiitakes up real quick. We're just going to slice these up. Nothing crazy. You want them to be relatively consistent, but it doesn't matter. It would matter if I was doing something like... hell, I don't even know. If I was doing something for Gordon. But because I'm sauteing them up to fold them into some risotto, I don't care. Relatively the same size, but they don't have to be perfectly the same. Off the coast of Africa? Okay. But it belongs to Spain? Lines up. That lines up. So we've got all the mushrooms prepped. The mushrooms... The mushrooms that we were rehydrating are ready to go. I'm going to drain these out real quick. I'm going to drain these out and reserve the water. So I have to wash a pan. Well, I don't have to wash a pan. I'm choosing to reuse a pan. The pan that had shrimp in it. So we're going to rewash this real quick. I hope this isn't too loud either, by the way. It should be pretty good because of the filters on it, but... I am aware of your guys' ears. I don't want to violate anybody's ears. So I'm just draining the dried mushrooms out. The reason I'm doing this over the bowl is because I want to retain the liquid. There's going to be a lot of earthy mushroom flavor left over in this water. And I'm going to use that to help make the risotto better. Just leave that there, actually. Why is risotto so expensive? Risotto is not very expensive. At least I don't consider it to be expensive. If you mean ordering risotto, I would say that like ordering or having somebody make you risotto versus having somebody just make you rice is that risotto is a labor of love. You have to stand at the stove the entire time you're cooking risotto. And not just stand at the stove, but you have to work it and nurture it, and you have to try to get all the flavors out of it. Or all the starches out of it. That just happened. Somebody should definitely clip that. Pity. If you shake garlic up, $20 for, I mean, I guess, you know, HC, it depends on, it depends on you, right? Like, let's just say, for instance, some people would say that lobster is disgusting, so they wouldn't think that the lobster has value. I mean, it depends on what's being cooked in it. I don't think the dried risotto costs that much. For some reason, the garlic's being uncooperative too. by the way. It should have peeled, and it's not peeled. Maybe there was too much to peel. There's a lot of fucking peels in here. I literally threw it across the kitchen, too. Thank God. Thank God it was in a lid. It had a lid on it. There we go. I think there's just too much bullshit in there. I wish I knew why this works. Not a fucking clue why it works. But it does. I don't like how that clove looked, by the way, in case you're wondering. So if you shake it around inside of a closed container like that, as you can see, a lot of the peels just fell off themselves. The rest of the peels are broken up and loosened from the cloven away. Ironically enough, I don't know if you know, but lobster, in the restaurant industry, I don't know what aspect would agree or not, but we would actually call lobsters bugs, and I think it's a common term for people to call them bugs, or also coals. Typically, they're called that because of cold water. They're typically going to be cold water lobsters. Warm water lobsters. All right, so I don't think there's a black spot on here, and because of that, I'm just throwing the whole clove away. Don't bother fucking with it. Don't bother trying to cut it off and save the garlic. I don't care if it's your last clove. Just throw the fucking thing away. When in doubt, throw it out. Doesn't smell bad, but it looks bad. Trust your senses. If it smells bad, looks bad, or tastes bad, but tasting bad should be only coming to you if you smelled it or tasted it. If it didn't smell bad or tasted bad. They scream when you throw them in the water, Dizzy. I don't know. You got to listen closely, bro. So we're only using the garlic for the asparagus and the shrimp. I'm going to kind of rough chop this. I don't want it to be too finely minced. I'm going to say, I mean, as with anything, when you order it from somebody else, HC, you're going to be paying the premium for them having prepared it. So one thing is, you're going out to a restaurant. The other thing is, when it comes to a restaurant, typically the food cost wants to be 30% of the menu, right? The 30%. But it's not 30% of every single item. So on something like, take your pick, on something like let's say a tuna fish sandwich, just for argument's sake, right? Let's say a chopped tuna fish sandwich. You're not going to be able to sell that for a lot of money. Nobody's going to pay a ton of money for a tuna fish sandwich, right? It's some bread, it's a lettuce, it's some tomato, and it's you know what I mean? And it's canned tuna fish on a fucking roll. Nobody's going to pay a tremendous amount for that. So you don't make much on that. You might be paying $4 for the ingredients to make the tuna fish sandwich and only selling it for $5.50. So you're not making a tremendous amount of money on that. Whereas something else like risotto, you can get away with charging, even though the risotto was cheap, you can get away with charging more for it. And so when it comes to how much things cost in a restaurant, a big part of that will be food cost, availability, ease of use, what the menu breakdown is, what they can get away with, what you're paying for, supply and demand. I mean, it's I think oftentimes I think oftentimes those prices have basically been set so long before even that restaurant was open. You know, they're using other restaurant menus as a guide for setting those price points. I drop them in a live pity. I mean, that's a relatively decent, right? So they're probably making 95%. I used to be. Hi, I used to be. I used to be a cook. I was never a chef. I always had to work. All right. I'm going to wait till the end to chop up the parsley and the diced tomatoes. Actually, I'm not. So this is really unfortunate. So we can look. We talked about this the other day. If you look at the asparagus, you can see these are very big spears. But if you look at the asparagus, this is very woody and it's very bitter and it won't cook down and it's very grainy and stringy. So you're going to want to cut off like the bottom half inch of that, right? You can tell too because it feels really hard. And then you're going to get down to the part where you can see that it's starting to turn green. I hope the camera's picking this up. It's probably not, but you can hopefully you can see the difference, right? You've got really white and fibrous material here, and this is starting to be in the vegetable. That said, the skin down there is still going to be very tough. One of the things that you can do to help give yourself more of the asparagus, make more of it viable. By the way, all of this is still viable too. If you wanted to, you could save that. You could boil it down, and then you could puree it and turn it into something like a asparagus soup, cream of asparagus soup or something. Big ass woody. I'm not going to reserve it because I'm not making a vegetable stock. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think I don't know if I'm going to be able to. I think what I'm going to try to do, since I don't have a peeler, is I'm going to use the back of a paring knife. That'll work. I'm going to use the back of a paring knife to peel the edge of these. Just to make sure that when I do cook these, the problem is that the skin, by the way, I guess I should expand on it. The problem is that the skin is very tough as well. And you don't want that skin to prevent the water from getting in to the stem and making it so that it's completely raw. So I'm just gently running the back of the knife, not the sharp edge of the knife. I'm gently running the back edge of the knife down the asparagus just to get some of that purple skin off of it. Oh, I didn't finish saying that when it came to the lobsters, by the way. Lobsters used to be peasant food. We call them bugs in the kitchen because they look like bugs and they're the bugs of the ocean. They're scavengers. They eat shit off the floor. The reality is, people that had money back in the day, way back in the day, wanted nothing to do with them. So it used to be peasant food. All right, that's actually pretty well done. Everything looks pretty good there. I'm just going to set this aside and wait. I think the skin is actually pretty similar to rhubarb. Dizzy. I'm going to rinse the cutting board again. If I was cutting vegetables and then I was cutting protein, I would cut the protein second. Because I'm just cutting vegetables, I'm just giving them a quick rinse. I've washed all the vegetables really well. I don't need all of this parsley. And my bunnies will eat the parsley. Presuming Butterfly trusts that it hasn't touched anything that could make them sick. I haven't cut any onions or anything, so I'm just giving this a rough shot. Again, parsley doesn't add a dramatic amount of flavor, a tremendous amount of flavor. So I'm just adding a little rough chop at the end to give the risotto some color. We're going to cut some scallions now. This is going to add a little bit more flavor too. Mushrooms and onions go together like peas and carrots, if you ask me. So we'll be starting out, the risotto will be starting out by sauteing up some red onion. I can't find shallots around here. I would start with shallots, but I can't find them. So we're going to be starting out by sauteing up some red onion, really finely minced red onion, and that'll cook itself down really well inside of the risotto. And then we'll put the risotto in there and we'll kind of toast that up in the pan a little bit. Once we get that toasted up in the pan, we'll start adding the stock in a little by little at a time. This is also a bit of a garnish thing here. I'm just dicing some tomatoes. Again, this is about presentation. Also about flavor though. I don't like garnishes that you can't eat. Tomatoes have an acidic flavor to them. Flavor is not really the right way to say that. Tomatoes are acidic. They provide a nice vibrant pop. So I had debated on doing some roasted red peppers just to kind of garnish up at the end, but I didn't really want to bring that sweetness to the table that they bring. So at the end of this, I'm going to fold this into the risotto. I'll probably just sprinkle it on top. Just for some color. And the risotto is going to be very rich. Risotto on its own is a heavier dish. You add mushrooms, earthy, heavy mushrooms to that, and you're going to end up with even more of that rich, heavy flavor. I'll finish it with a little bit of Parmesan cheese. Again, just really heavy flavor. So the tomato will give it a nice little pop. It'll give it a nice little contrast. Just a little rough chop. Nothing crazy. Not too much work. All right, I'm going to get a pot of water boiling for the shocking of the asparagus. We're going to drop the asparagus. We're going to bring water up to a boil, salt water up to a boil in a pan there. You've never had risotto before? It's a very creamy. It's rice, right? It's rice. But It's creamier, richer. It's cooked a little soupier, as it were. I love risotto. I think it's fantastic, personally. I'm going to turn this on high. We're going to add some salt to the water. You should always salt your water. You can add baking soda to your water when you're doing something like this, when it comes to blanching vegetable like this. If you were blanching, say, green beans or something like that, you can add baking soda to the water. Realistically, what it's gonna do is help keep that chloroform in there. Chloroform, that's not the right, so chlorophyll in there. It's gonna help keep that chlorophyll in there, which is gonna keep it that bright, vibrant green color. But the reality is, if you just don't fucking overcook it, that's not gonna lose that green color anyway. That's the simple truth. Don't overcook it. It won't lose that color. How long to cook it is going to depend on the size of what it is. So something like green beans dropped into boiling water. I mean, you can actually almost get away. And I did this with the broccoli when we made the butter chicken and the tandoori broccoli. I brought water up to a boil and then I poured it over the broccoli and I let it just steep like that for, I forget, it was about 10 minutes, I think. And then I still dropped it into cold water, ice cold water, so that it brought the temperature down and stopped the cooking process. I know, chloroform, chlorophyll. In terms of pasta, it would be more along the lines of orzo. I don't like any of my vegetables like that, Dinger. I like to still taste them. I think you can cook a lot of the really good, unique qualities of vegetables you can cook out if you're not careful by overcooking them. And then they become mush, and texturally it's just undesirable. But yeah, I mean, I guess, again, I guess it's one of those to each their own things. I forgot one thing. I need to cut an onion. So it's just Butterfly and I. When it comes to eating things like mushrooms and onions, my son will eat the steak. I'll probably throw a potato in the microwave or something for him. But because of that, Butterfly doesn't really like onion.
Let's fucking go.
I do. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to finely mince part of this onion for the risotto. It's red onion, so I'm doing it to substitute for the shallots that I would put in the risotto. And then I'm going to rough chop the rest of the onion largely so that I have something I can pick up with a fork to saute in with the onions. All right, to saute in with the mushrooms, rather. Sorry. I'm out of glass dishes, unfortunately. So, I don't need a ton. So, I'm cutting basically halfway in. Very, very, very thin cuts. Show you how to julienne cut. I'm going to, Crucify, thank you very much for the sub. I appreciate it. Crew, I'm going to, so here's, I'm very, very thin. I know it's difficult to see, but I very, very thinly cut the onions here. And I'm going to do the same thing across ways now. And I'm just trying to get a very, very fine chop on these onions. I want these onions to almost disappear in the pan. So, yeah, it's good. That's what we're going to do there. The rest of this, I'm going to rough cut big chunks. That onion was potent. Finely minced. Very, very finely minced. I feel like I want to tell you that I'm washing dishes right now, but I also feel like you can hear it. So I'm quickly washing a couple of these larger dishes that I have here, the large bowls, and then we're actually going to rinse the risotto and we're going to start cooking. For the risotto, I'm rinsing the risotto just like I would rinse any other rice. Even though we want the starches to release out of it, I want to get any of the dirt and things like that that could be in there off of it. So I'm going to give it a couple of quick rinses, and then we'll start cooking it. Crucify, how are you? How was your New Year's, by the way? You want to hear something funny, Connor? I'm being more conscious to speak lower, but when I'm standing over there doing the dishes, I'm turning around as though I'm speaking backwards towards a microphone that doesn't exist over here. What's up, Mike? How you doing? Like mentally, I'm still trying to look at the microphone. It's dumb. All right. So the water is going to boil pretty quickly here. I've got ice. I'm going to make an ice bath. We want to immediately stop the broccoli from, or stop the asparagus from cooking immediately. So we're really just trying to get this to tenderize just a smidge. Just a smidge. Mine was fantastic. First holiday with the grandson, it was great. The water's almost boiling. The chicken stock is simmering. We're going to rinse the rice while we wait for the water to get the last that last bit. Actually, yeah, see, I don't think, by the way, HC, I don't think this costs much more than a bag of rice did. Maybe it'll probably cost the same as the 2-pound bag of rice did. That said, I guess it does cost a little bit more, but not dramatically. Not the difference between a $5 side of rice and a fucking $20 side of risotto. Not that much more. I'm not actually, because I don't want to wash too much of the starch off of this. Starch is part of what you're trying to do here. You're trying to coax the starches from into releasing from the risotto. Give you that nice creamy texture. I'm just going to rinse this over a colander. I'm not going to fill it up and rinse it out and fill it up and rinse it out. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Pity. That's the best way to eat it. All right, the water's boiling for the asparagus. We're going to drop it in. Of course, the asparagus is too big. I should have done a bigger pan. It's okay, though. The stems, the tips are the parts that aren't going in. I know. Sad news, boys. I'm not going to walk away from this and do anything else right now because of the fact that I don't want it to overcook. This is all I'm going to do at the moment. Immediately going to drain it out and then drop it right into the ice water. It's not actually the smallest pan. It's actually the largest saucepan that I have. But I didn't want to break out a stock pot for it. Mike, I hate to do it to you, but it's a saucepan. It's not a pot. It's not a pot, Mike. I hate to side with Clark, but it's a pan. I'm sorry, Mike. It's a kitchen. We got to be particular. This is a saucepan. Sorry, sir. I'm sorry, Mike. I would normally jump at any opportunity to bag on Clark, but I can't. I can't let you have it. So, anytime you drop something cold into hot water or a hot pan like that, it's going to bring the water temperature down. It's going to bring the temperature of the pan down. So right now I'm looking and the water is about to come back up to boiling, and you can see that the color of the asparagus has almost started to brighten. You've brought that chlorophyll to the top, and it's starting to get a really vibrant color to it. And I don't want to go too far because we don't want the stems. We don't want the tips to overcook. Part of the reason why you shave off the stems as well, because you want to have an even cooking process, and it's difficult to do with something that's shaped like a spear. I'm going to let this go about another 45 seconds to a minute. We're going to get it out of there. We're going to immediately shock it and cool it down to stop the cooking process. We're going to end up sauteing it after the fact. When I'm done with the asparagus, we're going to pull out the steaks and we're going to start cooking the risotto. The water's just about now coming back to a boil, by the way. And yeah, now it's boiling and I'm done. Like I said, immediately into the ice water. We lost the tip. We lost the spear. Immediately into the ice water. Make sure it's all evenly coated inside the ice water. You may want to use tongs. Yeah, definitely use tongs because the asparagus is currently 212 degrees. At least the surface of it is. And I would seriously advise normal people touching it with their hands. The steak is the fridge, but the steak's coming out of the fridge while I cook the risotto for the next 20 minutes, Clark. Referencing what Clark's talking about now, the reason that you want to do that is that it helps get a better sear. You want to bring the steaks down to room temperature. It helps promote evenly cooking, and it helps get a better sear on the tomatoes. I mean, on the steaks. Why the hell did I just say tomatoes? Right. I'm actually going to go ahead and pull the steaks out now. We're going to let those start resting over there. We have the pan for the risotto. right here. Thank you, Clark. Ideally, though, you don't want to salt it. Ideally, if you were going to do that, you would want to pull the moisture out at a time that would allow you to then turn around and pat it dry as well. Because pulling moisture out right before you're about to go into the pan is not ideal for caramelization. You don't want it to be wet when you drop it in the pan. You want to pat it dry just before you do. So what we'll actually do is pat it dry, and then we will season it. As it sits there and rests, it's going to start to have some condensation form on it. I wish my kitchen was going to be 32 degrees. It's hot as fuck in here right now. Has Clark always been such a know-it-all? He knows everything, bro. But if you ask Clark, he'll tell you he doesn't know as much as you salt the steak to break it down. Right. It's still too early for that. It just came out of the fridge. I'm not trying to do it. Jesus, Clark. Clark, why are you so violent? Are you drinking right now, Clark? It is Friday. Clark might be drinking at the moment. I'm going to put the tomatoes, the parsley, and the scallions back in the fridge because we don't need them until the end of the meal. All right. I'm going to start out at about a medium heat. Don't start talking to Clark about beer now, Mike. He's fucking English. He's going to talk to you about how the beer in the United States is shit. Olive oil. I use olive oil is the only stuff we keep in the house. Butterfly has some avocado oil, but I believe avocado oil has a higher flash point. Realistically, I don't use 100% oil anyways. I'll put a little bit of butter in the pan. Like you let the pan get hot. You pour the fucking steak in, or you give it a little splash of oil. I'm just giving enough fat in the pan to make sure that it doesn't stick. When I'm done, when I flip the steak, because the fat's going to render out, and you're going to end up with all that fat in the pan anyways. Once I flip the steak, and I feel like I've got a sufficient caramelization on the bottom side of the steak, I will go ahead and I'll fold in some butter, and I'm going to throw some rosemary in the pan too. What's up, Dan? Wait, smaller cans? Oh, the smaller cans. So, Crucify, people are going to be, with so many things in the kitchen world and the culinary world, so many people have so many fucking opinions on what's right and what's wrong. And I think that if anybody tells you that anything is definitively the right way to do it, outside of a few basic fundamental principles, I'm going to tell you they're full of shit. It's called the culinary arts for a reason. I know Moose is going to love hearing that, but you have a lot of freedom. As long as you stay within certain confines of things that just make sense together, you have a lot of freedom and a lot of liberties to experiment with and try things. I do think there are some things that are really corny and fucking played out, like mango habanero. Fuck off. I'm so sick of mango salsa. It's fucking stupid. But you know, there's obviously things you wouldn't want to do. Like you wouldn't want tomatoes with you wouldn't want strawberries with onions type of things, right? So there's some fundamental things that you don't want to do. But outside of that, you know, do what you want, man. You don't want to use something when it comes to cooking steaks that has a really low flash point. You don't want your pan to catch on fire. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of creativity in it aspect. The guy standing next to you doesn't cook the same as you do. You know what I mean? You know that. And obviously, by the way, I think you can understand this aspect. Doing this in this environment is significantly different from doing it in the kitchen professionally. everything in the kitchen has a place, and there's already like I know right away that I need the half hotel pan, I need the quarter hotel pan, I need this, I need that. I know exactly where everything's at. I walk into the kitchen, I pull this out of the fridge, I pull that out of the fridge, I set it on the counter, we go through the process, right? We obviously do proteins last, we do vegetables first, but it's different. It's a smaller space, don't have as much room to work. It's right, everything there is ready to go. So this is the stuff that most of the time you're going to see happening in the back of the kitchen that nobody talks about happening. My cut of steak, I prefer sirloin, Mike, or a porterhouse. Love you, Clark. Thank you very much, brother. I appreciate you. Butterfly prefers ribeye, but she likes them thin. And when you want a thin ribeye, you typically are not going to get thin ribeyes with bone-ins, because I would always order a bone-in. I was always buy a bone-in. In fact, if I could get, we call them over here Kansas City sirloins. If I could get a Kansas City sirloin over here easily, I would have a bone-in sirloin too. Hey, thank you. Is it Dan? Dan, is it the Cookie Monster, Apron, or is it just me? I mean, I did shave today. I still have a fucking mop going on because I'm probably gonna have to dye my hair blue. But yeah, no, I mean, we can go over this again. By the way, I would love to. I'd love to talk about how to pick a steak again. A lot of people think, well, I'm just gonna go grab the prime grade A triple Angus beef, blah blah blah, and it's gonna be the best steak in the world because it's a prime triple A. Listen, it's not the case. When it comes to I don't know how good the lighting is on this. I want to make sure you guys see this. But when it comes to picking out a steak, you know, you're looking for some things. I don't want, because you're paying by the pound too, I don't want the fat cap on a sirloin to be too big. I don't want to pay for shit I can't eat. So this is perfect. It's going to provide just enough amount of fat in the pan. It's going to provide just enough amount of fat to flavor up the beef. In addition to that, you can see that there's pretty consistent marbling throughout. The marbling is a little flecks of white all the way throughout the steak. And again, don't be afraid. Now, don't poke your fucking hand through the plastic and get yourself in trouble in the grocery store. But when you go through and you start buying steaks, touch the steak through the plastic. Touch the steak and feel the steak. You can pick up, you can see this, right? So you can pick up, and around that side, on either side of that, you can feel that the texture of the meat is different. So it's not ideal that it's there, but typically when you're buying more than one steak in a package, it's going to be difficult to get every steak in the package to be perfect. But you can feel how the meat is going to cook. And I know I like my steaks medium rare. I know how Butterfly likes hers. And so I'm picking steaks based on that. And this is a very consistently dense. It's very consistent density throughout the entire steak. So I know that it's going to cook even when it gets to the pan. Some steaks, some cuts of meat, you can tell there's a dense knuckle. There's a dense knuckle of, I don't know how else to call it, a terminology for it. It's almost like the fucking cow got punched in the hip before it fucking got killed. And there's just like a Charlie horse. And it's just not going to cook. No matter what you do, that's just not going to cook. So if we were in a restaurant and I had 40 steaks to choose from when I'm working the grill, those steaks I would look at the beginning of the day, I would set those aside, and those steaks would either be butterflies. They would be, so when I say butterflies, I don't mean the wife. I mean, you would just cut it down the middle and fan it open so that you've made it now thinner and it's going to cook faster. Or it would be something like a black and blue, or you would want that for a rare or a medium rare steak, depending on how dense it is, because you don't want it to be chewy and tough. So you might want to go slow and low on that one and bring it out to it's. But all of this, you just start to know this shit. You don't. I'm gonna, for you that wants your steak to be like that. I hate to say it, Dizzy. I hate to say it, but it doesn't fucking matter. Because you want your steak to be cooked like that. I mean, the sad reality is that it just doesn't fucking matter. I'm no offense when I say this, but you're ruining it anyway. So, like, the thing you want to make sure that you look for is that it's not going to be cooked on the outside and raw in the middle. So you're going to, the biggest thing is, again, that consistency, that feel. So I know you can't feel this when I touch it, but I can tell when I touch the steak that there's no spots on the steak that feel more dense or fibrous than anywhere else on the steak. And that matters because you want it to cook evenly. So we don't want the outside to cook before the inside cooks. In the case of something like yourself who wants it well done, you don't want to burn the outside of the steak before you ever get. Yeah, I'm not being, we're not being offensive, but when it comes to being well done, yeah, you're not gonna want the marbling because that's gonna slow down the cook process, and yeah, you want to go for something. I'm gonna be honest, yeah, you're gonna want to go for something that's basically more red than white, so it cooks faster. That's You don't want the fat slowing it down. You want it to just get done. I mean, listen, if you can get them from a local butcher, that's always going to be better than buying them from, bulk type of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I respect that you're saying it's still soft even when well done. But yeah, I'd love to know why you like it that way. If you can describe to me what it is about the steak that makes you like it that way, I would love to hear it. All right, pan's warm, stove's warm. We're gonna get the oil in here. We're gonna start soft. The pan was too warm for a second, and I stopped. I don't want that pan too hot right now. I'm trying to sweat the onions. I'm not trying to cook them. I'm not trying to caramelize them. I'm trying to sweat the onions in this particular case. I think hindsight being 2020. What we got here? I'm probably going to have to do this in a couple of batches. So I'm actually going to start sauteing my mushrooms as well. The reason is that the mushrooms that are being sauteed for the mushrooms that are being sauteed up for the risotto, we're going to saute those up on the side and we're going to fold those in after the fact. And because we're doing that, it doesn't matter that I'm going to go ahead and cook them ahead of time right now and let them in. Now remember too what I said. I reserved the mushroom water for rehydrating the wild mushrooms. What kind of steak was it, Dizzy, when you say mush? When you say that it was mushy, what do you... Yeah. I mean, it's a texture thing. It's hard to fight with that. But when you say mush, I still want to, like, what do you mean? Because there's muscle fibers, and the more you cook that, the more those come to stand out a little bit, and so everything starts to be like this pulled beef or this pulled pork type of texture to it, or just a ground beef type of texture. You've been trying to do a blackened steak? I mean, when I think blackened, I always think Cajun. So it's always going to be rubbed in a dry Cajun rub. And if you're failing to do it, pity, I'm going to say two things. One is that your pan's not hot enough, and the second thing is that it's not dry enough. You need to make sure that it's dry. You need to pat that meat down really good before you put the Cajun on it, and then you're going to smother it with the dry Cajun seasoning. You're going to put a little drop of oil, whatever oil, fat, whatever it is. If it's butter, if it's bacon fat, doesn't really fucking matter. Whatever type of fat you want to use. Small drop, just enough that it doesn't, you don't want to make it wet again, but you want enough that it's going to help you release it from the pan without pulling all the fucking dry Cajun seasoning off of the steak. And you're going to set it down in a hot pan, and then don't touch it until it's time to flip it. Also, make sure you have a good exhaust fan, because when you start blackening things inside your home kitchen, you're going to smoke the fuck out of the place. Son of a bitch. Burnt my shallots. I hate electric stoves. I don't know if I've mentioned that before in the other 6 streams or not, but I fucking despise electric stoves. Fuck it. Going to get a different onion. Well, this is... So when we moved in, I told Butterfly, I'm like, we're getting a new stove. And she was like, yeah, I agree. And I was like, we're converting to gas. And she was like, no, I like electric. We've been on gas the whole time. She was like, no, I like electric. And she does most of the cooking. And because of that, I'm not going to put up a fight. All right, we're going to do this again. We're not going to get sidetracked this time. Mushrooms have a lot of water in them, by the way. So when it comes to cooking mushrooms, you don't want to add a lot of liquid to the pan. When I say liquid, I mean your fat, your oil. They're going to release a lot of oil. We're going to probably have to cook this in 3 batches so that I don't. We want to saute the mushrooms. We don't want to boil the mushrooms. So you're going to want to do this in bits. You're going to call 911? I mean, GG's to you, Mizuka. We're making New York sirloin. I mean, Mizuka, I'm guessing you're a first-time chatter, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to give you about one more message before I'm going to have somebody ban you. So, change the tone or leave. What's up, Dustin? How are you? All right. Risotto's going in. We're just going to toast this up. I probably just dumped way too much risotto in the pan. And I need more oil for sure. What's up, child? How you doing, brother? I'm making a wild mushroom risotto. Making wild mushroom risotto with the surf and turf and a side of sauteed asparagus a l'aglio. Still need more oil. So, you guys saw that I have the pan over there for the mushrooms we were talking about. And I put the olive oil in there. Now, the olive oil is green. The olive oil is starting to lose some of that green color. So, I'm going to say that it's time to throw these mushrooms in. We're just toasting the rice now. I'm trying to make sure that all of the rice... I'm shouting. I'm trying to make sure that all of the rice is coated with the oil and starts to toast up a little bit in the pan. You know, part of the problem with smoke detectors is they actually work off of light now. So if they get the slightest bit, this is why steam will set a smoke detector off now. Yes, they can see your comments. Dizzy. If you wanted to, you could add garlic into the risotto, by the way, with the shallots. I'm doing a mushroom risotto, and I want that earthiness of the mushrooms. So I'm not putting garlic in it because I don't want it to have to fight with that. And now here's the fun part with the risotto. Here's the fun part with the risotto. We don't get to leave the pan. We don't get to leave the stove anymore for the rest of the process here. We're gonna ladle in. I'm gonna start out with the mushroom water, one ladle at a time, and just be patient. And stir and stir and stir, and you're just gonna keep stirring until all of the water, all of the liquid that you've just dropped in has absorbed into the rice. First chef that ever taught me how to make this said this is a labor of love. The reason he says that is because this is what you have to do through the whole thing. You get to stand here and stare at the pan. So real quick, while that's my sauteed mushrooms, we got a little bit of caramelization here. I know it's difficult to see. The mushrooms are soft. We don't want to overcook them. We don't want mush. I don't want mush. If you want mush, GG's, you know? You do you. It's not for me, though. I'm actually just going to go ahead and spread these out onto a sheet pan as well, by the way, just so that they stop cooking. We're going to give the pan a quick rinse. We're not getting away from the risotto. No, we need to go back. And also, this is a beauty of electric. This is the beauty of electric, too. Look at that thing. That thing disconnected. The pan cooled off, unfortunately. That wouldn't happen on a gas stove. I know that. So we're giving a quick rinse to the mushroom pan, the saute pan for the mushrooms. We don't want things to start building up in the bottom of the pan, giving them the opportunity to burn. We're going to put that right back on the heat, give it a little bit of oil, and keep it moving. You'll notice I didn't season this. There's a couple reasons for that. A, we're using chicken stock to make it, by the way. So in addition to using the chicken stock to make it, we're also going to add some Parmesan at the end. Parmesan Reggiano. So seasoning it as we're going would be a less than ideal situation because you could end up with enough salt in here, and then you can't add the Parmesan after the fact. Or you've got the chicken stock, which has already got seasonings in it, and now you've added the salt to it, and now you've ended up in a situation where it's already too much salt. So you want to finish cooking this at least 80% of the way before you start considering putting seasonings in here. I know you guys can't see this from over there, and I don't think it'll translate if I bring it over there, so I can hear it starting to crackle. That's one of the indications that it's about time to put another ladle of liquid in, because it means that most of the liquid has evaporated. But there's a creaminess starting to develop here. You're starting to see. Yeah, I mean, there's no other word other than creaminess. The starches are starting to release. So as much as this liquid is going into the grain and starting to soften up the grain, it's also pulling those starches out and creating this nice, beautiful, creamy, velvety texture that you get when you make risotto like this. The oil's ready again. We're going to go with the shiitakes this time. We're probably going to have to do 2 more saute pans worth of mushrooms here. We'll do 1 more of the dry mushrooms, and then we'll go on to the rehydrated wild mushrooms. In a minute here, I'm going to pull the steaks over. I'm going to pull the steaks over and we'll start seasoning them. In case you're wondering why I'm flipping them, the part of the steak that's touching the ground or touching the bottom of the container that they come in, that part won't be getting any air and it won't be cooling down because it's in contact with the surface. So I'm flipping it. I said cooling down, warming up, I guess. Also, again, I don't know if you guys noticed, I didn't season the last mushrooms. I'm not going to season these mushrooms either. I'm going to incorporate these into the risotto, and then I'm going to season up the risotto when the time comes. I may end up running out of chicken stock, which is less than ideal. I don't know if you guys remember the when we had the whatchamacallit stream, the chicken pot pie stream. I had made the chicken stock. This is the last of that chicken stock. If I run out, I'm just going to use water. It's not ideal. It looks like I'm going to run out. I should probably cut water into this, actually. Wait, what am I lying about, Vinny? Oh, lazy. Wait, which part's lazy? Not seasoning the shrooms? That's not lazy. It's not laziness at all. It's deliberate. It's making sure I control the narrative. I don't want to end up with something being over-seasoned. Because when we season the risotto perfectly and then we throw these seasoned mushrooms in here and now we've got over-seasoned risotto and the whole fucking thing's ruined. No, you control your narrative. Not exactly. I gotta say, it's been a long time since I had shiitake mushrooms. The smell of these is so different than the oyster mushrooms that I just cooked, and it's delicious. There's like a woodsy, nutty aroma to them, and it's just really good. Shiitakes are great. Smells really earthy. Really delicious mushrooms. The unevenness of this fucking stove, the heat on this stove. I know it'll be better with a better stove, but I just hate electric. It would be so much better if it wasn't electric. Sabotage. I fucking hate you, Benny. We got other things we need and want to do first. Like the front stairs. The front stairs are, the front stairs to get in are like 9 inches tall, bro. I realize that may not mean anything to you, but it's 7 1/4, I think, or 7 1/2 is code. The steps are very tall. Each step is very tall. Now, a flame on the bottom of a pan is going to disperse itself more evenly across the pan, whereas something like this, which is in direct contact with the pan, if any part of this coil is heating up unevenly, or if any part of this coil is hotter than the other part of the coil, or any part is in better contact with the bottom of the pan, then it's going to create a hot spot in the bottom of the pan. You're going to have hot spots throughout the pan. And ideally, you would have a nice, evenly dispersed heat, which I don't have a lighter, but if you hold the flame to the bottom of any surface, you can see how evenly it disperses across the surface rather than creating one direct point of contact on it. Gas is superior. Gas is far and away superior. All right, last batch of mushrooms getting cooked. We're making a surf and turf. We're making a. I'll have a sirloin. Butterfly's gonna have a ribeye with sauteed garlic shrimp. I'm gonna turn this down a little bit because It's starting to stick to the bottom of the pan. And I don't want that. In a minute here, I'm going to give it a taste. Even though I know it's not done. With a wild mushroom risotto bus. I'm sorry, Genesis. Butterfly is my wife. That's her name on Twitch. We stream also on Twitch as well. I'm sorry if I didn't say that right. Genesis? It seems like Genesis. I apologize if I didn't pronounce that correctly. Butterfly is my wife. That's just how everybody knows her. So Butterfly will be having a ribeye. I'll be having the sirloin. Sauteed garlic shrimp with wild mushroom risotto and a side of sauteed asparagus. Olio. I apologize, Genesis. Today's the first day that we've simul-streamed to YouTube in a long time. So I'm not used to having people. For the most part, the people in the channel have been people that would know me on Twitch. We've been streaming on Twitch for 4 years this month, actually. Well, it was 4 years in November. This month marks 4 years of affiliated. We just started doing cooking streams, though. I'm typically playing Call of Duty. We just started doing, this is the 6th cooking stream. It's the first one we're streaming to YouTube. I finally got my mic the way I want it and the camera the way I want it and everything. And so I'll be doing them simul streaming to YouTube every other Friday now. Butterfly got me cooking. I used to cook for a living. That's the name Cook One For You. That's part of where that originated from. I used to cook. I cooked for 20 years professionally. And it tastes rice. I know it's not ready though. Yeah. We're getting there. We're getting there, but not quite yet. I think we're about the point where I'm going to season up the steaks. Your uncle is Marco Pierre White? All right. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. If I had the opportunity to work for somebody like Marco Pierre, I probably would still be cooking. I wouldn't be streaming. All right. Mushrooms are done. I mean, I've had the opportunity to work with some guys that are really famous in terms of culinary arts. There was while I was at the casino in Foxwoods when I worked in Connecticut, and they had some food shows. So I got to work with like Tyler Florence just for a meal. I got to work with like Tyler Florence. I also had the opportunity to meet. I didn't really get to work with him because Morimoto pretends he doesn't speak English, but Chef Morimoto, winner of Iron Chef. Yeah, I guess it has been 2 hours, Dizzy. I didn't really know either, to be honest. All right, so we're going to start seasoning the steaks. We still have to saute the mushrooms and the onions after. But we're ready to go for now. The steaks aren't very wet. We're just going to take a couple napkins and give them a quick pat down. Really press into them. Try to get any excess moisture off of them. Where's Butterfly? She doesn't ever come on camera. She never will. She doesn't want to. She's upstairs at the moment. She actually has a pinched nerve in her shoulder at the moment. So she's resting. Not feeling too hot. Hurting like hell. Part of the reason you're stirring this constantly is to help coax those starches out, but you also want to make sure that it cooks evenly. Well, I mean, she has a username on Twitch. She does actually stream on Twitch, but it's not her. She streams our bunnies. We have 6 wonderful little miniature bunnies that she has a 24-hour stream on. I'm seasoning up my steaks, by the way, with some garlic powder, some salt, fresh cracked pepper, and adobo. I'm just evenly dispersing it across the steaks here. Adobo has salt in it, so I never want to put too much in there, but I like adobo as a seasoning blend. What's up, Austin? How are you? Don't forget the Lowrys. No Lowrys. No Lowrys at all, child. None. Wait. I didn't salt the other side. We're going to have to flip that and go back to that. No, what's whack is Lowry's. I do salt, pepper, garlic powder. Fresh cracked pepper. I actually just ground this up in my mortar and pestle earlier. I typically don't do the butter with the rosemary, but I decided to do it today. Mostly for the stream. When you season your steaks, season them liberally. The reality is that most steaks are going to be cut to a thickness which isn't going to be possible for you to really over season it, because you're going to lose the seasoning in the pan, some of it. You're not going to really be able to over season it. So be liberal. Don't be afraid to put some salt on there. Don't be afraid to put some pepper on there. It'll be fine. I promise. I can actually smell the starches coming out of here now. This is really getting close. Good night, Pity. Pity, if you want to watch the rest of this, it's going to be on YouTube. Yeah, so what I'm going to do, I have a cast iron pan. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get the pan hot. We're going to put it in with a little bit of olive oil. We're going to get the one side seared up. Once we flip it over and it's been cooking for a couple minutes, I'll fold the butter in. I'll put some rosemary sprigs in there, and we'll go to town with that. A surf and turf, New York sirloin with garlic sauteed shrimp, a wild mushroom risotto, and a side of sauteed asparagus al olio. Yeah, so we just bought the house, Zenesis. We just bought the house about 6 months ago. Eventually, I'm going to put a patio out back, and I'm going to build my own grill out of brick and stone. Once I get that done, we'll probably move some of these cooking streams outside. But you know, just getting settled in the house and stuff, we haven't really had an opportunity to. I mean, we've done some things. I've already redone the floor here in the kitchen. I've already painted the cabinets and the hardware in the kitchen and put the island in. So I've already painted my room, my office upstairs, where I typically stream from. We've got Starry Night on one wall. I painted all the trim in the. It's looking pretty good in there. We're gonna actually finish painting the trim, or we're gonna actually finish painting the walls on stream. I think we're probably gonna start that next week or the week after. We'll start painting a couple hours a day on stream. So that'll be an aspect of the stream. We have a Starry Night on one wall, and I'm going to paint the rest in the same fashion as Starry Night. House tour? Nah. Probably the only place the camera's ever going to go in the house is going to be the kitchen and the office. My wife and my son like their privacy. I don't want to accidentally put them on camera. I don't, And my house is lived in, to be honest with you. We've only been here 6 months. We're not completely unpacked. We've got boxes in there, So my house is my home. We live here. I'm not embarrassed by that, but there's also some degree of privacy that I want to maintain with it. So it's nothing personal. I'm not embarrassed about my house. The house is 109 years old. It needs a little bit of love. As you can tell, it's not a slum, but we got some things we need to do with it. We want to do with it. Maybe when I get it all done and redecorated and completely redone, maybe we'll get a little bit of a house tour. We'll get some photos. What'll probably end up happening is, as I redo it, if you look at my Discord channel, there's actually way back. There's actually photos of the progress of the work I've done. Yeah, so one of the things we were talking about doing, right now we've had 8 inches of snow on the ground for the better part of 2 weeks. And it snowed every day for the better part of 2 weeks. One of the things we want to do is put a shed outside so the attic isn't really greatly accessible, and I don't want to cut a hole in the ceiling upstairs to give a staircase just yet. So we're probably going to end up getting a shed to put out back, and we're going to store some things out there. But Like I said, we've got 8 inches of snow on the ground, and it's been snowing basically for 10, 12 days at this point, and I'm not really trying to build a foundation out there to put a shed on in the middle of the current weather and winter that I have. I think the rice is probably at a point where it's about 85% of the way there, which is what I want, because I'm going to cook the steaks, and while the steaks are resting, we're going to cook the asparagus, we're going to cook the mushrooms and the onions that go on it, and we're going to cook the, we'll rest the steaks. While they're resting, we'll finish the rice. Yeah, this is almost perfect right now. Well, when I got done cooking, the first thing that I did was I worked with my brother, who has his own home improvement contracting company in Connecticut. So I picked up a lot of carpentry skills. I know how to do everything basically from, I can frame it, I can lay floor, I can do sheetrock, I can throw the mud, I can paint, I can trim. So it's ultra satisfying when you get to do it to your own home. I can tile. Eventually, we're going to change the tile backsplash in the kitchen. There's some sticky board thing up there now that's tile back. It's faux tile. I want to put real tile up there. I want to resurface the countertops with some epoxy resin. I got a lot of things we want to do to the house. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to set aside the rice. We're going to start heating up the pan for the steaks. I don't know how I got rice in the cast iron just then. You know, though, I feel like there's someone. You can't see the office right now. There's such a massively more prideful feeling about doing it to your own home when it's your own stuff. I like. There's only 1 or 2 things in the 2 or 3 things in the house that I don't want to do myself, or I don't trust myself to do. One of them is messing with anything at the electrical panel. I'll wire in my own outlets, but I'm not going to go wire anything into the box. So I would hire an electrician. And then I'm 43 years old, and I don't want to crawl up on roofs anymore. So I need my roofs and my gutters done. And I'm probably going to pay somebody to do it because I just don't want to. When I have the money, when we save up the money, I'll pay somebody to do it. I'm trying to think about the process here. We get the pan hot and start cooking the steaks. And the shrimp, I think, at the same time. You do. This is so Genesis, we only have we lived in an apartment before this. Butterfly and I. We lived in an apartment before this. We've been together for 22 years this year, and we've only ever lived in an apartment. I'm going to be honest with you. Anywhere where my family is, I'm fine. I don't care. Home is what you make it once you shut the door, you know? I don't care what's happening outside. I don't care about the area that I live in terms of those things. Home is where my family's at. And I was happy, but we bought a house, and I never really thought we were going to buy a house. I'd never had a dream that we would buy a house, and we managed to make it happen here. We moved out of Connecticut to Western Pennsylvania. Unfortunately, my brother's back there in Connecticut with my nephews and stuff, but I'm happier than I've ever been. I love the town. I love the town that I live in. It's a small town, and it's got all the small town vibes. The only thing I hate about living here, I shouldn't say hate, the only thing I dislike about living here, as I would word it, is that I live in white people, Pennsylvania. The reason I say it's white people, Pennsylvania is because when I go to the grocery store, I can't find things like exotic cheeses. I can't find even basil plants. There's no basil in the grocery store. Why is there no basil in the grocery store? I can't find things like exotic cheeses. I wanted to find wild mushrooms. I couldn't find wild mushrooms. There were so many things that, and I say that affectionately, white people, Pennsylvania, but there just isn't a whole lot of variety of food in the grocery store. There's not a lot of diversity in the grocery store when it comes to food. And I miss that about Connecticut. Connecticut had that, believe it or not. There was a very big Latino population near where I lived out there. And so anything Latino, and I love Mexican food, anything Latino that I needed to get or wanted to get, if it was mole or fucking adobo or whatever it was all readily available. Those things are just not commonly found over here right now, at least for me. I've been using these towels, by the way, and they've got some moisture on them. They're cold. They're wet now. The reason I'm mentioning that is because I'm about to be touching a very hot cast iron pan. Wet towel with hot pan equals straight burn. It's almost worse than burning yourself by touching the pan barehanded. Do not grab hot pans with wet towels, ever. Bad juju. I'm going to wash a couple pans real quick. Those of you new to the channel, I kind of try to wash as I go. I'm sorry. This is the 6th cooking stream that we've had. It's the first time that we've gone on YouTube. I just bought Restream so that I can simul stream. Hopefully in 6 months or in 6 weeks or so, I'm gonna have fiber and I won't need to have Restream anymore. But for now, it'll do. But I like to clean as I go. It makes life easier at the end of it. The pan's getting hot. I've got an opportunity to wash a couple real quick. So I'm gonna. Forgive the noise, I apologize. If it's too loud, let me know when I get back in front of the tablet, and I'll make sure I mute in future. This is also my first stream with my lapel mic on, so I'm not used to having you guys walk around with me. I realize what may be happening might be louder than is comfortable for most people to hear. I think the cast iron's probably going to be fine. I don't think I'm going to reduce the temperature of it too much, but as I said earlier, when you put cold things in hot pans, it reduces the temperature of the pan itself, which reduces the ability for it to caramelize effectively. So I'm probably going to cook my my son's steak and my wife's steak first, and then I'll start over and I'll cook mine. Unless you're cold. What do you mean, unless you're cold? Dry towel. Dry towel, dry towel. Which part did I say? What are we talking about, Aspect? We're going to give a little adobo here. I'm going to season these right on the napkin. But I patted them dry. We're just going to do a light seasoning on here. Little garlic, little adobo. Little salt. Ah, yeah. 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 Well, I'm getting fucked by this napkin. I'm not joking. When I tell you, bro, there's no way. The napkin is sticking to the fucking shrimp. We're turning the pan off now. Problem solving. It's what I get for using a napkin instead of a paper towel. Well, the Restream is a service that I'm currently paying for. I was streaming to multi-platforms before, but once I moved, my internet is not really sufficient to do that right now. Hopefully when we get the fiber, I won't have to continue, but Restream is fantastic if you don't have the internet capabilities of it. And basically, I don't stream to Twitch anymore. I stream to Restream, which then rebroadcasts the stream out to the other platforms. So we're currently live on YouTube, Kick, and Twitch via Restream. Stream to Restream, and then they rebroadcast it to all three of those for me. I don't know if we'll do Kick again. I'll have to look at the analytics and see what it says. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I don't have any plans on moving. Twitch is my home. I'm happy with Twitch. For the most part, I got no complaints. Really, nothing that they have going on, positive or negative, is highly impacting me. I like Twitch, so, but we'll look and see. You know, getting your foot in the door early with something like Twitter might be a good call. Hard to say. It's worth looking into and worth giving an opportunity to check out. So I'll look at it and deal with the analytics on it. The shrimp's ready to go now. But the Restream bot has it all collectively grouped into one. Right. So I'm going to put the pan. This is the pan for the shrimp. Just a little bit of oil in here. This is obviously the pan for the steaks. Got my garlic. I'm going to do a little bit of lemon lime for the shrimp. We're basically just going to put the garlic in the pan. We're going to saute the shrimp. We're going to flip them over. We'll put the garlic in the pan. We'll deglaze the garlic with the lemon and lime juice. I'll drop the wedge white in there. Maybe give it a little slice of butter just for a little creaminess to the sauce. But really straightforward and simple. Just doing some sauteed shrimp. Nothing crazy, nothing spectacular. Okay, child, you fucking weirdo. Child, are you playing right now and just randomly popping in? Or are you actually tuned into the stream? I'm just curious because I know you Texans think you know how to cook. And I was just wondering if you were actually trying to learn something or... Yeah, there's no criticism. I know you guys think you know how to cook down there. If anybody's wondering why I'm cutting up the butter into little pats like that, it's easier to melt and incorporate into sauces. You don't want to throw a whole stick of butter in there. You want to fold it down. I'm not really making a sauce per se, but I want the shrimp to have a nice little creaminess to them. So also the garlic or the asparagus is going to have a little bit of like a beurre blanc-esque type of sauce, a little scampi-esque type of sauce to it. You can grill and smoke, not cook. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but smoking it is cooking it. I realize how difficult that is for you to understand. But that is in fact cooking, child. All right. I don't know if you can see. The pan's starting to smoke here. I've got it at about 3/4 of the heat. This, in case anybody's wondering, is where I'm going to cool down, where I'm going to allow the steaks to rest, rather. I don't know why I said cool down. This is where the steaks are going to rest. So, my wife's steak. Like I said, there's a lot of fat in the steaks. Not bad fat, good fat. There's a lot of fat in the steaks, so we're not trying to boil the steaks. Actually, I'm going to put my steak in here too because there's plenty of room. And because I trust the cast iron isn't going to cool off faster than I can... it's not going to cool off so fast that it's going to be detrimental. Shrimp cook really fast. I'm just waiting for this pan to get heated up. When it comes to olive oil, I don't know if you guys heard me say this before or not, but when it comes to olive oil, it's green, right? It's a greenish yellow color. As it starts to heat up, it'll start to get clear. So if you don't know if it's hot enough, you can tell by looking at it. Obviously, it'll start to lose some of that viscosity, that thickness, and it'll start to coat around the pan easier. That's one indication. But you can also tell by it's starting to get more clear, and that means that it's getting hot enough. Don't mess with your steaks. Set them down. Let them get their sear on them. Worst thing you can do is sit there and start shuffling them around. In case you're wondering, by the way, I don't know if you can see this, but what I have here is I don't know, a grill rack or something. I don't know what you want to call it. And I've set it over top of a sheet pan. The reason that I've done this is the same reason that I flipped the steaks over earlier. When it comes to allowing the steaks to rest, we don't want to set the steaks down directly on a flat surface that doesn't allow them the ability for air to circulate around them. Because if you set it down, it's going to continue to cook, and it's going to continue to cook unevenly on the bottom of that. We have a beautiful sear on this steak, by the way. Beautiful caramelization on the steak. I was a little worried because the pan is brand new. Not going to lie. I was a little concerned. But we are vibing. Are we on a delay? Are we good? We might be on a slight delay. I just came back and I looked at the camera and I wasn't on screen. All right, so with the steaks, again, it's hard to say. You just kind of start to know when it's time to turn them, when it's time to move them. Just one of those things that you develop over time. Basically, you would ideally only flip the steak once or twice. I was worried about this pan being the first time cooking on it. It seems to be doing all right. With the shrimp, as the shrimp starts to turn orange, you can see that it's starting to cook about halfway through. That's going to be about the time that you want to flip them over. Now that I flipped them over, I'm just going to watch them. And as I feel like they're about 75% of the way done, which is when they start to turn white, right? They lose that translucent color to them. As they're about to be done, I'm going to add the garlic in. We'll saute up the garlic and stir that around. We'll give them a little bit of the lemon juice and a little bit of the lime juice. We'll drop those wedges in the pan, and then we'll pull it off the heat. And we'll fold a couple pats of butter into them. Not really a scampi, but it's very, very similar to how you would prepare a scampi. I'm going to turn the heat down on this just a little bit. All right. I knew that they weren't done anyways, but I'm going to tell you what I did. What up, Coz? All right. So, everybody's probably going to have a different way. I can guarantee you, Aspect, you still here? I can guarantee you, the majority of people that are cooking steaks in a restaurant professionally are not doing so with fucking thermometers. I promise you. I don't know how everybody else does it, but I'm going to show you how you learn how to do it. I don't have to do this anymore. I just know. But this is what you do. So if you just keep your hand relaxed and you rub around on this fat, meaty part of your hand, you rub around and you feel how that feels. That's what rare is. Now, touch your finger to your thumb. No pressure. And then rub around. That's what medium rare feels like. Do it to your middle finger. That's what medium feels like. This is what medium well feels like. And this is what well done feels like. And you can feel the density and how that changes in your palm every time with every temperature. I don't know if Aspect's got something different. It's time to add the garlic to the shrimp here. When you add the garlic to the shrimp, you want to make sure that you let the garlic actually touch the pan. You don't want to bite into this and get raw bits of garlic. Nothing worse than getting a big mouthful of raw garlic in the middle of your food. It'll blow your fucking palate to pieces. You won't be able to taste shit for the rest of the meal. Can you hear it, Connor? Unfortunately, I don't have a hood. I've got my screen door open, but fortunately there's no hood in this kitchen. We can do this. All right, the garlic has started to brown up a little bit here. It started to brown up a little bit. The shrimp are orange. They're not 100% of the way cooked. Remember, dry towel. I'm going to squeeze the lemon in and the lime. Just drop them into the pan. I like the citrus that lemon offers, but I also like the sweetness that lime offers. So that's why I go with both. And basically what's going to happen here is I'm going to pull these off. They're not fully cooked yet, but I'm going to pull them off the heat. I'm going to pull them off the heat because the shrimp, I'm going to pull them off the heat because carryover cooking, which is the remaining heat that's already in the pan, is going to complete the process, and they'll be perfectly cooked. We're going to throw a couple pats of butter in here. Like I said, I'm not actually making a scampi. I'm just kind of doing a little bit of, just a little flavor. Just a little flavor and a little creaminess. I'm going on and off because when you fold butter into something, if you don't fold it in, if you don't temper the heat when you fold it in, it'll break. So you don't want it to get too hot. You also don't want it to get too cold. And we're just tossing and tossing and tossing. We're going to do this until the butter melts all the way. And then we're going to pull it aside and set it aside while we wait for the rest of the meal to get ready. But the shrimp will finish cooking from its own heat that it's picked up. You can see that creaminess, right? It's not a scampi. It's not a true scampi anyway. Shrimp's going to continue to rest over there and finish itself cooking. The steak is medium right now. Well, it's medium rare. It'll be medium when it's all said and done. I'm actually just going to take this outside and set it on the porch. It's about 12 degrees outside. This will cool down pretty quick. We're a little smoky, chat. Doesn't look like it's coming through too bad on the camera. It's smoky as fuck in here, though. Right. So, we've got the sauteed mushrooms done. The steaks are resting. The only thing we need to do is fold the mushrooms in, season the risotto. I made a lot of risotto, by the way. Way too much fucking risotto, by the way. Way too much risotto, but as Butterfly shall tell you, I always make too much. You know, my daughter had said she was coming over for dinner, but I haven't seen her in chat today. I don't know if she was trolling, but when she asked what was for dinner and I told her, she said, all right, I'll see you Friday. Oh, believe me, I know. I'm going to eat it. Hot boxed it a little bit. Yeah, you're probably only seeing it at the top, but it's all throughout. How we doing, Damon? All right, so we're back on the stove. We get the chicken stock back over here. We're going to get another pan going for the asparagus. And we're going to have to saute up the mushrooms and onions.
Let's fucking go.
Don't want to leave the butter on the counter. We're going to do the same thing with the asparagus that we did with the shrimp. We're going to saute up the asparagus in a little bit of olive oil. We're going to put some garlic in there. No, we'll probably put a little bit of lemon juice just because it's nice for bringing out flavor. Citric acid has that flavor highlight stuff going on. Wait, did somebody just give 5? Body bags, thank you very much. Who just gifted 5? I'm sorry, with Restream and me being down here on the tablet, I don't know who gifted. Thank you very much for the 5. I appreciate it. Body bags, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm sorry, I don't know how the Restream thing works when it comes to the noties. I'll try to do better going forward about figuring out what's happening with the notifications. I don't know. It could just be that I'm on the tablet. Like if I was at OBS, it might work better. I don't 100% know. All right, we're going to season this up. I'm going to put the rest of the cracked pepper in here. We're going to put some salt. Thank you very much, Body. I appreciate it. Also, that means that tomorrow's stream will start out with an egg being cracked on my head. As part of the subathon. As part of the subathon rewards or punishments. I guess it depends on your perspective on it. Again, nothing crazy with the spices. Salt, pepper, adobo, garlic powder. Because we seasoned the top of it, we're going to want to make sure we stir this up good. Make sure the seasoning is evenly incorporated. The mushrooms are evenly incorporated. Then we're going to taste it. At this point, the risotto has basically finished itself. It was about 80% of the way done. Oh, that mushroom flavor. Listen, I'm sorry if you don't like mushrooms. Wait. Demon? Demon, you gifted 5 as well. Thank you very much, Demon. That means, and we can do this tonight. We can put another temporary tattoo on me. Adobo is a Spanish food mixture. It's got salt, garlic, black pepper, oregano, and turmeric in it. It's just a Spanish mixture. It's made by Goya. It's just a Spanish flavors mixture. I know I'm adding much of the same seasonings when I add it, but it's a nice even blend. Called adobo. There's also another one called sazon. I don't know what's in sazon. So this actually just needs another minute, by the way. So with risotto, I think you guys heard me mention this a few times already, but with risotto, what you want is a nice creamy texture. It's not like rice. You're not looking for... We good? You're not looking for that texture that rice has. It's creamy. It's almost like, it's hard to say, but almost like rice pudding or almost like a soup. There's too much in this pan. I'm going to try and bring it over and show you guys. But you can tell there's a nice creaminess here. I don't know if you can see it really well. There's a nice creaminess to it. How it's pronounced depends on where you live, Dizzy. Take cilantro, for instance. In the UK, they pronounce it coriander. All right. This is for the asparagus. We're going to make sure all the asparagus is facing the same way, just because it's going to be easier to plate when I do. All we're doing right now is the mushrooms, the onions, and the asparagus, and we'll be on to plating. Yeah, Dizzy. Dizzy, I'm aware. I was answering your question while also being facetious about it. It's a different word entirely altogether for the same exact ingredient. What we call cilantro, they call coriander. But I mean, up here, well, in New England, you would hear somebody say "ka" and "water" and soda, but in the Midwest, they would call it "pop" and "water." You know what I mean? It's not your fault, Dizzy, but for the last 3 weeks since I started making my own bread, in particular making the baguettes, I've been being criticized about how I pronounce baguette by Clark and Venny, and I frankly don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about how I pronounce any fucking word in the entire English language, or Spanish for that matter. I don't care. Now that's not on you, Dizzy, but I don't fucking care. So the asparagus has already been blanched in water and then shocked in ice water. It's blanched in salt water and then shocked in ice water. So because of that, we're not really trying to do anything here other than heat it up. So we're going to get it into the hot oil. We're going to get a little, exactly, Damon, exactly. We're going to get it into the hot oil. We're going to get a little temperature on it. I'm going to squeeze the lemon on it when it's done sauteing and it's warmed up. But we're not actually trying to cook this. It's already cooked. It's already got a nice crispness to it while being simultaneously tender and edible. So now we're going to saute up and brown up the garlic until we get that nice nutty aroma out of a nice golden brown garlic flavor. We're going to start sauteing some mushrooms. Going to have to do this in a couple batches. Probably try to do this in 2 batches because I'm going to do butterflies mushrooms now. We'll do my mushrooms and onions after. Claro que sí, pero hablo español, pues yo sábelo. Yo sélo. All right, the garlic is starting to brown, so we need to pay attention to this because we don't want it to burn. We're going to give it that splash of lemon juice and pull it off the heat instantly. And then again, just like we did with the shrimp, we're just going to fold in a little bit of butter here, a couple little pats, nothing crazy. A little salt, a little pepper, smidge of adobo, Duolingo. Duolingo is a good place. I've heard good things about Duolingo. I believe Clark uses it to learn how to speak French, and he's done quite well learning how to speak French, I might add. So with the shrimp, I told you it wasn't quite a scampi sauce, not even really a butter sauce. I was just kind of folding in some butter for some smoothness and some texture. This is very similar in that, except this would be considered probably more of a beurre blanc because I've just reduced some acid and folded in a little bit of butter. But even this, I'm not doing anything classic when it comes to this. I just want to give it a nice little buttery finish when it comes to how I want the flavor of the asparagus to taste. By the way, here's the asparagus. The butter's melting in on its own. I don't know if you can hear this. Still plenty of texture. Needs more salt though. So I just put a little more salt on it over there. You didn't realize you were one of three what, Danky? How are you, Danky? Forgive me, it's my first time on Restream. Danky, I think you might be a first-time chatter. Oh, you are? You're on YouTube. If I watched Food Network in the 90s, I hated Food Network. I'm not going to lie to you. Not going to lie to you. I don't like Food Network. Butterflies, mushrooms are done and out. All right. Butterfly, I always cut her steak up. We're going to cut her steak up. English is part of the Germanics. French, Spanish, Portuguese. French, Spanish, Portuguese, Latin. Actually, I don't know if Latin qualifies. Those are Romance languages. The Romance languages. So mushrooms and onions obviously have a different density, a different texture. Normally you would want to be careful about putting them in the pan at the same time, but I've cut them in a way that means that they're going to cook evenly. The reason I've cut them in that way is because I've done this so many times. I know I know that the onion is going to cook at the same time as long as I cut it a little bit smaller than the mushroom. it'll cook at a similar speed. All right, so the risotto is still warm. The risotto is finished up. I got the thyme that I prepped up from earlier. I forgot about the rosemary. Haha, for the steaks. Forgot all about it. It's all good. Nah, probably about an inch and a half. I got news for you, Velo. I don't make peasant food. Which means I am not a peasant. Evening, Velo. So I don't want my mushrooms too cooked. I don't want my onions too cooked. I like them to be firm. I like them to have crunch. I want to bite into the onion. I want to be able to taste the onion. I want to be able to have that crunch of the onion. I'm just giving it a little salt, a little bit of garlic powder. A little pepper. And those are done. We're going to fold in some parsley that I cut earlier. And some scallions just for some color. Ignore the pieces that just fell on the floor. Don't put this back on the heat because it will continue to cook. If you put it back on the burner, put it on a cold burner. All right, I think I'm going to go all fancy here with the plating process. So, I want to look at getting better plates, by the way. Doing this, I want to get some really nice plates. And when I say really nice plates, I mean really simple plates. See, I don't know. I don't feel like this is big enough. We go on a black plate. The reason I hate these black plates is because they're seashells. And it's just fucking disgusting to me. But I feel like it should be a white plate. The white plate's not big enough. All right. You're eating a Red Baron pizza? I mean, there's worse things to eat. By the way, when it comes to preparing a steak or plating a steak like this in a restaurant, if you send my steak out to me already cut, I'm going to fucking throw it at your forehead. But because we're plating this for the stream, it's different. I'm plating it for, you know what I mean? I'm plating it for the specific purpose. We're not going with asparagus first. We're going to go with the risotto. And I think by the way, I wish you guys could smell this. And as soon as the ability for me to upgrade the stream allows me to let you guys have like smell-o-vision, I'm there, by the way. I will get that upgrade. Okay? As soon as it allows me to. You guys are first up. Aspect, I don't know if you were here earlier. With the mushroom risotto being what it is, so earthy, so rich, so heavy, I'm going with a little bit of diced tomatoes, much like I did with the butter chicken before, for reasons you obviously know and understand. The acidity, the pop, the freshness. It'll help cut through some of that heavy richness. I'm not just explaining this for Aspect. I'm just, in case he was wondering, I didn't want him to be hypercritical of what I was doing because of it. What's that easy? Mic is so good. It's picking up my breathing. We've got a little bit of Parmesan here. I don't want too much. I'm not really trying to dominate the flavor with Parmesan cheese. I'm just trying to highlight it a little bit. Easy, how are you? Giving a little bit of pop with the scallions and parsley. Little color. Nothing crazy. This is... Did the camera just die? The hell is that noise? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't want to put the mushrooms and onions on the plate. Dizzy, I'm not a nutritionist, but I don't think that's how it works, brother. A meal prep service? No, I've not considered that. I don't know how to incorporate the mushrooms and onions here. I made some sauteed mushrooms and onions, and I feel like... I guess you can't see the plate. Here's the current plate. This is what the plate currently looks like. Let me get... And I don't feel like I want to put the mushrooms and onions on there. I'm going to eat the mushrooms and onions. I sauteed up, but I feel like the plate is full. I feel like the plate is full. And I don't think... And I don't think it's a good idea to I don't think it's a good idea to put the put the mushrooms and onions on there from a decorative standpoint. From a decorative standpoint, I don't think it makes sense. I mean, yeah, Dizzy, I'm not a nutritionist. I mean, you could be right. I don't know. I think you should still I think you should still do sodium in moderation, regardless of how much water you drink. I appreciate that, Damon. I looked at Walmart yesterday. It's not something I'm going to find there. Even if I had bigger plates, though, I wouldn't want to put the mushrooms and onions on there. I think it's done. You know what I mean? Like, the plate is full. Not the plate is full because because I've occupied the entire plate. The plate is full because it's done. There's a point, and Aspect will know what I'm saying here. There's a point where when it comes to plating food like this, there's a point where you have to simply put your hands down and say, that's it, it's done. Like, because an Aspect knows exactly what I'm talking about right here. I can go back and touch something else, and I want to. Repeatedly, I want to. There's one piece of asparagus that's not quite as straight as the rest of it, or the shrimp isn't sitting the same as the rest of it. And so, remove the asparagus pan. Oh, I'm going to take a picture, easy. So, at some point, you just have to stop and go, it's done. Yeah. Tadrino, this is the 6-1, bud. This is the 6th cooking stream. Just branching out a little bit, trying to do things. Community's been asking me to do cooking streams for years, Padrino. All the way back to Verdance, people were talking about doing cooking streams. I wish I knew why the camera was doing the light thing. It doesn't seem like it does it in the low lighting in the office, but well, babe, I presume that you're in chat, babe. I'm guessing you're not super hungry. Do you want your plate? Can you answer me, please? Tell me what you want me to do here. First bite of the risotto completely. Wait. We got to take a picture. What am I doing? Auto ISO? It does have that. Danky, I cooked at a lot of places. I cooked at a lot of places. I got my start in Virginia Beach. I was a dishwasher working at a place called Howard Johnson's, and then I started prep cooking. Down there, and then up in Connecticut when I moved up to Connecticut, at a place called the Laurel House. And then I worked at a lot of places. I spent almost. I think I spent more than half my career, just about half, if not more than half my career, working at Foxwoods Resort Casino. I worked in the high volume restaurant called the Veranda. I worked in the fine dining restaurant called Paragon. I worked at the steakhouse called. I worked at the steakhouse called Cedar Steakhouse. Somebody ban Padrino, please. Ban Padrino. Best 50-year-old on Twitch ripped his face off. I want everybody to know that. All right, I gotta go. I gotta go grab my phone real quick so I can take a picture of this. Also needed to pull the pan in out of the off the porch. Hello? You want your food? Huh?
Will you bring me a soda too?
Yeah.
Am I tired or something?
Yes. Are we muted? No, because you called me chef. I'm a cook. I work for a living. I wasn't sure. She's got a pinched nerve. I wasn't sure she wanted to eat, so I asked her.
Let's fucking go.
Collie, thank you very much for the sub. All right. Be right back, chat. Almost forgot. She asked me for a soda.
Mandeman says my
I am aware
kitchen
that you
so
can
you
hear
can
me.
cook some of that amazing
I do
food
know.
for me.
I haven't muted my mic, and it's on me, so.
Thank you.
This is risotto.
Okay, thank you.
All right, all right, all right. Way back. Your kitchen? What do you mean your kitchen? All right. Let's eat this risotto. Oh, did you redeem that? I see. She's got a pinched nerve in her back. Well, shoulder, from her shoulder, easy. So surf and turf. I'm gonna post a picture, but I'll show you the plate one more time. I don't think so, easy. But here's the plate, Kali. We have sauteed asparagus al Olio. We have a wild mushroom risotto topped with a little bit of parsley, scallions, and tomatoes. Just because the risotto is very rich and earthy and very savory, it's a very rich flavor, and so the citrus of the tomatoes, the acidity of the tomatoes will help balance that out. With some medium rare sirloin and some sauteed garlic shrimp. I love risotto. We might easy, I don't know. I love asparagus too. Steak is definitely done. How we doing, lobster? Done. How are you, ma'am? You guessing I'm 5'6"? I'm 5'8". Five eight. No, it's not pink, it's red. I'm fantastic. How's life treating you, lobster? You okay? I know putting up with Cap every day can't be easy on you. You might be used to it by now. I don't know if she's even in chat, honestly. She may or may not be in chat, easy. I didn't see my tab up on the computer when I went up there. Rare to medium? That's a big gap, Damon. Bam Bam. The reality is, Cap can't cook for shit. So he eats what she gives him. Thank you, Danky. I appreciate that. Bravo, Sefton. Well, easy. I'm telling you, brother, when we meet, I'm cooking dinner every day. Every day. And by the way, in terms of rarer the better, for real, yes. I don't know if any of you guys have had carpaccio or had tartare, but there is something amazingly decadent and primal about, like, it's so weird because it's such a highbrow, fancy type of dish, right? Like, you can tell when it comes out to you on the plate that it's some fancy fucking shit, right? But at the same time, it's fucking raw caveman fucking instinct to eat it. I don't know. It's such a weird balance because when you look at carpaccio or you look at tartare, like when it's plated well on a nice, just a completely white plate, right? Completely white plate, nice pile of fucking the classic tartare preparation, just a pile of the fucking fillet with a nice quail egg cracked in the middle and all the fucking stuff that's sprinkled around the edge of the plate with the toast points. And you see that plate and you're like, wow, that's some fucking fancy made for king type shit. That's some really fancy highbrow fucking drinking tea with your pinky out type of fucking food right there. And also, it's like raw, no caveman just biting into a fucking cow's ass right on the fucking field. Americans that ain't from the Midwest usually just don't fuck. I mean, that's fair. I've been doing the dishes as I go. There's only so I'll have to put the pans away. I'll have to put the food that's like the risotto. I'll have to put the risotto away, but there's 3 bowls. There's 3 bowls and 1 saucepan over there. 3 bowls, 1 saucepan, and then the pans here. So I wash as I go. I wash the dishes every day. Butterfly doesn't wash the dishes in the kitchen, Danky. I stream. I stream for a living, Danky. So Butterfly, every month isn't always good, right? So we budget our money pretty well. Every month isn't always great for me, and we're not quite making enough. We're growing and we're getting bigger and we're doing what we need to do that. It's a work in progress, but Butterfly picks up the slack when I can't, and she works and she leaves the house every day, and so I take care of, the kitchen. She cooks though. You don't think I've seen a cow's ass before? I mean, I'm not talking about its fucking rectum, Dizzy. I'm talking about right on the rump, bro. Right next to the hip bone. He doesn't have an accent, Damon. He does not have a southern accent. I think most people in Virginia don't. I don't know how. I know that a lot of his southern growth would be in Virginia. I mean, I don't have a custom one. I mean, are you giving me a rug, Hog Wild? Can I go give her a kiss? Yeah. Absolutely. You want me to do it right now, unmuted? She doesn't feel good, Easy. Me going in there while she's trying to eat, she's probably going to be annoyed. Hey, you guys can see that. Easy. Easy, what is... Easy. Can anybody tell me? I'm guessing Hog Wild was the first time chat, right? I'm all set, Hog Wild. Thank you. Easy. You're fucking insane, bro. Nah. Nah. Not the first time? Alright. Sorry, I'm on Restream, Hog Wild. My moderation abilities aren't the same as they would be if I was just on Twitch. And I just assumed that it was like the graphics designers coming in trying to sell me something. I hope I didn't offend you. There's a difference between fear and respect, Dizzy. But no, she couldn't. Not even close. Not even remotely close. Easy. Easy, are we adding that? That's Jesus Christ. That's 800 minutes. What is that? And is that adding 10 hours right off the 8-hour stream? The 9.5-hour stream on Friday just turned into 19.5 off rip. I got you. I got you, Easy. We're adding it to the clock. We're adding it to the clock. What else? We're going to add that to the subathon, Easy. No, 19, Demon. Wait, it added 11 to the 9? That's how many hours 800 is? I'm not doing math in my head right now. By all means, tell me. Nah, it's just, you're good, Easy. You're good, Dizzy. It's just 11 hours and 20 minutes. We're at 9.5. That puts us at almost 21 hours before we even start. And also, we had 10 gifted on the stream already. It means we start tomorrow's stream with 2 eggs on the head. We start tomorrow. We're going to say that we've reached some sub goals too. So we're going to be doing some giveaways. I think that I can't see the flyer in front of me right now. Friday the 24th is a marathon stream. Bam Bam. This month is my 4-year affiliate subathon, or my 4-year affiliate anniversary. So we're having a party. It started Wednesday. We're doing all the bullshit that we're doing. Jesus Christ, that means the 800 means that we've already done. I got to go full Bobby Zazzles one day. I got wig, dress, makeup. We got to dye my hair and my beard. We got to dye my hair and my beard. I think I have to look at the flyer. We will be doing, I believe that qualifies us for a coffee mug, my merch, a coffee mug, a t-shirt, a sweater. I don't think we hit the hoodie though. I think the hoodie was at 1,000. Friday the 24th is the marathon stream. Bam bam. All right, listen, this is what I'm planning on doing right now. I'm not going to finish eating because I've had enough and I've been eating and I've been taste testing. So I'm good to go on that front right now. I'm going to take a couple minutes here. I'm not going off stream. We'll still be talking. I just want to give you guys a breakdown. I'm going to pack some things up to put away. And I'm going to put them in the fridge, and I'm not going to wash the dishes right now. Because of the way that the stream is set up, it's kind of fucking wonderful, actually. I'm going to be able to walk upstairs, we're going to switch scenes off of this scene. It'll put you guys right in the just chatting screen with me upstairs. And we will switch over to the streaming mic from upstairs. So we're just going to, I'm not going to shut down the stream. The kitchen's mostly clean anyways. Like I said, I washed as I go. So I've got a couple things. I'm going to put my plate in the microwave. I'm going to put the things in the fridge that need to go in the fridge. And you guys, I mean, we're going to hang out and talk. I just want you to know I'm going to be moving around the kitchen. That's all.